Hello there. Hello there. Like you, I wasn't able to keep my response under 10 minutes, so what I've done is split it out into two videos. The second one is quite short and is a response to this one. So here we go, part one. You start off in your response to me by quoting me as saying that my atheism gives me the freedom to find my own purpose in life. And you ask, what does that mean? Surely that's just subjective. And the answer is yes, it is subjective, and that's my point, that it's personal. My purpose in life isn't necessarily going to be the same as it is for somebody else, and nor should it have to be. Let me give you an example here. I'm not a parent, and I don't want to be a parent, but there are plenty of people in the world who are fulfilled through having children in their lives. Neither of us is wrong, it's just that we've found different ways of giving our lives meaning. And when you come out with a phrase like, the purpose of a mass murderer doesn't affirm your purpose, all it does is make me wonder why Christians don't ditch the cross as the symbol of their religion and go for the scarecrow instead. Because, you know, you've got the same pose, and I just feel that the fondness you have for straw men makes it so much more appropriate. To clarify, the freedoms that I was referring to are in fact freedom of thought. So that's the freedom not to be brainwashed into believing what you're told simply because you're told it. It's the freedom to question. And thinking freely does not equate to amorality or total disregard for everybody else. That's just a feeble argument that's used time and again by theists who are incapable of understanding how anybody can work out right and wrong for themselves. And the fact that you need to have it spelled out to you is worrying, because it makes you so easy to be manipulated by ruthless people who would have you perform atrocities. And if you think that's a really, really harsh judgment, if you think that's too harsh, do you think that those young men who flew jets into the World Trade Center, or the ones who strapped bombs to their backs and detonated them on the London transport system would have done that if they'd have thought that what they were doing was wrong and they'd be going to hell? Of course not. They'd been told that they'd be martyrs and they'd been promised paradise. They performed acts that any sane human being would clearly see is wrong, simply because they've been able to delude themselves into thinking that their religion somehow justified it. So where's your objective morality here? Now, at no point did I say that theists don't care about their families or their jobs or putting food on the table or helping people survive. I mean, quite the contrary to that. Many theists are very interested into the affairs of this world. But therein lies the paradox, because surely that is incompatible with their belief system. Your Bible tells you that nothing comes before your God. So if you believe that, and I mean really believe that, you don't care at all about what happens in this world. And in fact, the sooner that you die, the better for you, because you get to be with your God. So any concern at all with earthly things, with the physical, does nothing but belie your faith. As we go through the video, you inevitably refer to Stalin and other atheist dictators. You provide a link on a site with some numbers, and although I didn't have a chance to look into the numbers themselves in any detail, I did look up their author, R.J. Rummel, and I found that he seems to be a credible source, but there are some articles that suggest that he does go for the high-end estimates for deaths under Mao and Stalin. Although I grant you there are no official figures. Leaving that aside, what's the point that you're trying to make here? Is it that totalitarian regimes don't care about the welfare of the populace? Because that's exactly the point that Rummel is making. That basically a democracy is better to live in than a totalitarian state. There's no surprise there, and it's completely irrelevant to belief or disbelief in God. I was also a little baffled by your Sky Daddy analogy. You attributed 2% of deaths in the 20th century to people who believe in the Sky Daddy, as opposed to more than 50% of those who don't believe in the Sky Daddy. Overlooking the 48% that you seem to have lost somewhere along the way, where do you get this figure of 2% from? Because the figures that you've directed me to for the 20th century are that there are 107 million deaths under atheist regimes versus 169 million in total. Now, 107 is 63% of 169, not 98%. And given the rounding errors that are attributed to these data in the footer of the table, the 63% could well be close enough to 50% for there not to be that much in it. The table also mentions just atheist regimes, but not whether or not the people living under those regimes were atheists themselves. And the header even suggests that in the 20th century, most people lived under some kind of religion. So all in all, it's a bit mixed up and muddled and a mess, and the numbers themselves don't mean anything without context. You go on to accuse me of saying, obviously, theists don't think. And that's not true. What I'm saying is that it's obvious that theists don't think enough. Look at creationism and the virgin birth, miracles, people coming back from the dead, a woman made out of a rib. If you exercise critical thought on any of this stuff, then you wouldn't believe a word of it because it is nonsense. Then we move on to the subject of homosexuality. And you say that you disapprove, but that real tolerance is when you can disagree with somebody and still allow them to do what they want. But the gay activists want you to approve. Well, please rest assured that I neither need nor crave your approval. What I do care about is oppression of me because of my sexual orientation. The only acceptance that I need from anybody is acceptance of my right to live my life in the way that makes me happy, as long as I'm harming nobody else. You disparage gay activists and the gay agenda, but you seem to overlook that there is no shortage of Christians who feel that I should be compelled to agree with and live under their belief system. Now, whilst I don't believe in their religion, I do believe in their right to their faith. So, as an example, I can say that I don't believe that Christians should be thrown out of their homes because of their Christianity, or disowned by their parents, or have their children taken away by social services because of their Christianity, or be subjected to verbal and physical abuse because of their Christianity, or passed over for promotion at work, or even not hired in the first place because of their Christianity, or even put to death because of their Christianity. And I could go on, but hopefully you get the point, because it seemed to me, for the most part, that Christians don't feel the same way about me. Your accusation that I consider 90% of the world subhuman and incapable of thought is incorrect. What I'm saying is not that you can't think, but that you don't think. Your delusion deters you from thinking in any way that would question your rigid worldview. And for you to suggest that there's some kind of gay supremacist agenda at work here really does nothing except reveal your homophobic agenda. It's really ironic that you use emotive phrases like gay agenda but overlook the Christian agenda. This is the Christian agenda that would like to see homosexuality recriminalised in the UK, that won't allow my civil partnership to be called a marriage, and would rather see a child grow up in an orphanage than in a loving home to gay parents. There is no gay agenda. There's only a quest for equality. I've never heard of a gay person knocking door to door trying to recruit people over to the gay agenda. On the other hand, I have personal experience of Christians knocking on my door trying to convert me. So if you want to worry about people with an agenda, you should look to your own. Then we get to your response to my question, what does your Bronze Age book of superstitions have to offer me? And you say objective morality. Come on, have you actually read the Bible? Genocide, murder, oppression of women, racism, all of these get the seal of approval from your book of gruesome fairy tales. Surely that isn't your idea of objective morality. You go on to cite a purpose in life, and what would that purpose be? To worship a sadistic and misogynistic, homophobic, warlike and genocidal God, so that you stand some chance of spending eternity with this monster. Personally, I want a little bit more for my life than that, and maybe you should too. Time to move on to part 2.